This is Mike.
And this is Beck.
And we are Brew Crime. So for this episode, for the holiday season, the Christmas season, we're going to do something a little different. It's going to be stupid criminals.
Something to lighten the mood after all your shopping stress.
Yes. So you don't, flip out at Christmas. Because it's a busy enough time, stressful enough time.
For sure.
Well, we're actually going to do, I think, 2 stories each. Mm-hmm. Mine are going to be shorter. I'm not sure about yours, Beck.
They're shorter than my usual. I wouldn't say they're short, but... Yeah.
Perfect. So we're going to mix it up a little bit, but we're going to pair the start of this episode with the Coronado Brewing 2015 edition of their Stupid Stout, which really ties in with the whole episode.
Yeah, I was so excited when I saw this. I couldn't believe it. It was perfect. And we were together, which made it even more perfect.
So it says here, this deep, dark, viscous brew stands up to the other Imperial stouts as well as the test of time, delivering defined, robust, chocolatey notes with a hint of hop freshness. As this beer ages, those big flavors will mellow, leaving behind a smooth, balanced sipper. It's the perfect beer to warm up with as the winter cold sets in, or as part of a vertical tasting session many years from now. And Coronado Brewing is from Coronado, California. I think the original brewery is actually on an island there. So the beer pours very, very dark, opaque black.
So dark.
Even in a proper stout glass where it's quite thin at a point, you cannot see any light through it.
Oh.
Nice, deep brown, like chocolatey head.
Mm-hmm.
It's got kind of a toffee, chocolatey aroma. Almost some brown sugar in there.
It's very sweet. Smelling, I mean, I haven't tasted it yet, but...
There's definitely some, like, roasty characteristics and stuff to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, lots of chocolate and toffee and caramel and a bit of smoke, brown sugar.
Very creamy.
Yeah.
I mean, considering the color, it's not, like, as heavy as I thought it would be.
Yeah, it's not as thick as some.
Mm-hmm.
It's got kind of an ashy note to it, too. I guess we didn't mention, this is actually 10% alcohol, which I'm not tasting a ton of alcohol in it.
No. Dangerous.
It's stupidly drinkable.
You know what it reminds me of is those the Halloween candies. They're molasses kisses.
Oh, okay.
They're like a light brown. They used to be different colors. I remember when I was a kid, they were different colors, like different variations of brown. But I think nobody likes them except for me. I can't believe that they're still selling them. But part of what I like about them is the nostalgia, because they haven't changed the wrappers since the 80s, and they're just like orange yellow, and then there's black pictures of like witches on brooms and pumpkins and stuff.
Oh, okay. I think I know what those are.
Yeah, I think everyone hates them except for me, but that's okay.
But yeah, it's a really nice beer. I really enjoy this one, but I like a big stupid stout. So And let's transition into your story or your case.
So my first one is Martyr or Murderer, Time Will Tell, the story of John Allen Chau. Young man spreading the word of God, or moron blinded by faith, risking the lives of an entire civilization.
Moron.
I'd say that you haven't even heard my story yet, but I know that you were looking into this before. So
yes, we both were.
Yeah. It's very recent. Our most recent, actually.
Yeah, definitely. This is by far the most
topical,
up-to-date topical story we've done, yeah.
So I'm going to start with some background information about the North Sentinel Island people. They are a hunter-gatherer society and the last known but uncontacted peoples. There are approximately 40 to 100 of them living on an island in small huts. The island is located in the Bay of Bengal in India and is about the size of Manhattan. They are now and have always been hostile towards outsiders. They've killed people who approached the island. In 1956, India declared the island a tribal reserve and prohibited travel within 5 kilometers of the island. Even photography is strictly prohibited. The first mention of them was in 1771 by a passing survey vessel that recorded seeing many lights on the shore but didn't investigate further. During a monsoon in late summer of 1867, an Indian merchant vessel foundered on the reef just off the island. The passengers and crew reached the beach, but as they were having breakfast on the third day, they were suddenly attacked by the North Sentinelese people. The captain fled in the ship's boat and was found days later by a Royal Navy brig. What a super brave captain.
Yeah.
What a fucking hero.
Cool dude. Let's take off on all my other all my other crew members.
Screw you guys, I'm out of here.
Yeah. What was this like going down with the ship stuff, right?
Yeah, what? I don't remember agreeing to that. The Navy sent a rescue party to the island, and they discovered that the survivors had managed to repel the attackers with sticks and stones. No thanks to the cowardly captain.
Did they break any bones?
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Let the douchebaggery commence. In 1880, British naval officer Maurice Vidal Portman led an armed group that included convict orderlies and Adamanese trackers. The Adamanese were a group of islanders from a different island that the British Navy had already befriended. I'm using that term real loosely. Yeah, so the North Sentinelese fled to the tree line as soon as the group landed. The group searched for several days, but all they found were abandoned villages and walking paths. Eventually, the group caught an elderly man and woman and 4 children. Aren't they brave?
Yeah, totally.
Everyone knows that the elderly and children are the most terrifying of prey. Maurice Vidal Portman took the 2 elderly adults and children to Port Blair, which was 55 kilometers away. Sadly, but not surprisingly, the man and woman died shortly after arriving. All 4 children became very sick, so Maurice quickly sent them back with ample gifts in hopes of establishing friendly contact. You kidnapped them.
Yeah.
You're an idiot. No gift forgives kidnapping children.
No, not at all.
Maurice returned to the island in 1883, 1885, and 1887. It was also suggested that Maurice was erotically obsessed with the islanders. He photographed...
Giggity, giggity.
Yeah. All right. He photographed the men in homoerotic poses like subjects of a classical sculpture.
Ooh.
He also documented their bodies with an obsessive focus on genitals. We have pictures of this douchebag and one of the photos that he had taken on the website. You'll see what a fucking winner he is.
Fucking wiener or winner?
Both. In 1896, a convict escaped from the penal colony in Great Andaman Island on a makeshift raft which drifted to the North Sentinel beach. His body was discovered by a search party some days later with several arrows piercing him and a cut throat.
Sounds like a welcome.
I think they're pretty fucking clear.
Yeah.
We don't want you here.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't blame them.
Yeah. So sometime between 1895 and 1898, Richard Carnac Temple toured to North Sentinel Island to capture fugitives. So he was just there to capture people who had escaped from the prison island that was nearby. So upon arrival, he found the fugitives dead. Temple went on to describe the Sentinelese as, quote, a tribe which slays every stranger, however inoffensive, on sight, whether a forgotten member of itself, of another Adamanese tribe, or a complete foreigner, end quote. August 2nd, 1981, the cargo ship Primrose ran aground just off North Sentinel Island. After a few days, the captain reported preparations of boats by more than 50 armed islanders to invade the ship. The strong waves prevented the attack and deflected their arrows. Nearly a week later, the crew were evacuated by a civilian helicopter with support from the Indian Naval Forces. The Sentinelese scoured the abandoned shipwrecks to salvage iron for their weaponry. A scrap dealer sent to dismantle the Primrose wreck recorded friendly exchanges of fruits and small metal scraps with the Sentinelese. So he was the first one to actually make friendly contact.
Interesting. We're going to steal the shit, but you can take the rest.
Yeah. I'm not sure what it was that he did that didn't get him shot, that got everyone else shot. But
Probably because he wasn't on the land.
maybe.
He was out wherever the ship was.
Yeah. In 1967, T.N. Pandit, an anthropologist working for the Anthropological Survey of India, led an expedition of about 20 people to the island for research. They were unable to make contact with the North Sentinelese, but did leave them gifts. In 1970, they officially declared the island as part of India to protect it and the North Sentinelese from mercenary outlaws who took refuge in the area. So they were worried about people exploiting them, or even just visiting the island and bringing sickness to their
Disease and
protected
death.
society. In the 70s and 80s, T.N. Pandit continued his trips to the island with a variety of reaction from the inhabitants. The crews often left various gifts on the island. Sometimes the Sentinelese waved, and sometimes they turned their backs and assumed a defecating posture, which T.N. took as a sign of their not being welcome. Wow, thanks, Sherlock.
No shit.
Yeah, so glad you were here to decipher that enigma. The inhabitants didn't want them there, so they pretended to take a poo. I'm not recommending this practice, but I'm just saying, are you sure that the next time a Jehovah Witness comes to the door, this practice won't work? That's what I thought.
If I lived in a place where I could try that, I might. I don't think they'd like it in a condo, though.
No. In early 1974, a National Geographic film crew went to the island. T.N. was with them to film the documentary Man in Search of Man. It's on YouTube if you want to watch it, but if I'm being honest, don't bother because it's really dull. Their 3-day plan was to establish friendly contact through gift-giving. When they got through the barrier reefs, the North Sentinelese came out of the jungle and quickly began shooting arrows at them. The crew found a safe spot on the beach and left, amongst other things, a miniature plastic car, coconuts, a live pig, a doll, and aluminum cookware. What response did they receive? Another round of arrows. Yay! One of the arrows hit the director in the thigh.
Nice.
The man that shot the arrow laughed while the others killed the pig, which they then buried with the doll. They took the coconut and the cookware and left the beach. Best beach party ever.
Agreed.
In 1991, the first instances of peaceful contact were recorded. This is actual contact, not like the shipwreck where he happened to not get shot.
Yeah.
On January 4th, 1991, the Sentinelese approached a routine expedition party without weaponry. The party tried to get them to come closer, but the inhabitants just collected the coconuts, retreated to the shore. The party returned in the afternoon, but upon returning they found approximately 24 Sentinelese on the shoreline. One of the inhabitants pointed a bow and arrow at the party, but a woman pushed the arrow down. The man buried his weapons on the beach, and the inhabitants approached closely enough that the party was able to hand the inhabitants bags of coconuts hand to hand.
Yeah.
This was the closest anyone had ever been to them, to be able to
I'd read
pass them
about that.
something hand to hand.
It's pretty impressive. For everyone else that's come to the island has been shot at, and they were able to actually get to the point where they could hand them stuff. Is awesome.
Yeah. Some of the members from this party returned on February 24th. The Sentinelese not only came without weapons, but actually got into the party's dinghies and took coconut sacks by themselves. They were curious about a rifle hidden in the boat. They likely just saw it as a source of iron and not as a weapon.
Yeah.
I mean, they would have no reason to recognize what a gun was.
Yeah.
These sorts of expeditions continued until 1994, but were then abandoned by the Indian government. They now maintain an armed patrol to prevent intrusions from outsiders. On January 27, 2006, Indian fishermen Sundar Raj and Pandit Tiwari were illegally harvesting crabs off North Sentinel Island. During the night, their makeshift anchor failed and they drifted slowly toward the island. As soon as they were close enough, a group of Sentinelese warriors attacked the boat and killed them with axes.
Oh, shit.
The bodies were put on bamboo stakes facing out to the sea like scarecrows. Not subtle.
No, don't fuck with them.
No. 3 days later, an Indian Coast Guard helicopter found the buried bodies. They tried to retrieve the bodies, but were attacked. The mission was quickly abandoned. And here we are to our main story, I guess. The most recent and most widely reported attempt at contact was just this past November, so just last month. John Allen Chau was a 26-year-old American missionary from Missouri. Most of the following information is from a journal that he kept while traveling and that his mother shared. John wrote, quote, "Lord, is this island Satan's last stronghold, where none have heard or even had the chance to hear your name? The eternal lives of this tribe is at hand." End quote.
It's just sick.
He traveled to the island by paying local fishermen. He intended on making contact with the Sentinelese in hopes of converting them to Christianity. He knew that this trip was illegal and that he was risking his life, but he went anyway. Not once or twice, but multiple times. November 15th was his first trip. The fishing boat took him about 1,600 to 2,300 feet away from the island. Fishermen warned him not to get any closer, but he continued on in a canoe. As he approached the island, he saw the Sentinelese and shouted, quote, "My name is John. I love you and Jesus loves you." End quote.
Because of course they would speak English.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Obviously. Who doesn't speak English?
Exactly.
Yeah. The Sentinelese continued to advance, so he quickly retreated. The following visits had an odd mixture of reactions from the Sentinelese. Sometimes they were amused or bewildered by his visits, and sometimes they were downright hostile. He tried singing worship songs and speaking to them in Xhosa. This is a South African language involving a lot of click consonants. The Sentinelese responded to those attempts by falling silent or bursting into laughter.
I think I would too.
Yeah, ouch.
Excuse me, sir, but what exactly does that phrase mean?
Well, let's see. Ibowai means God, and Hasadiga means fuck you. So I guess in English it would be fuck you, God. Hasadiga Ibowai.
Shit.
That's what I like to imagine they were thinking.
Yeah, I think you're right.
He eventually tried to give them fish and other gifts. The first to respond to this was a young boy. He shot a metal-headed arrow into the Bible that John was holding in front of his chest. Needless to say that John quickly ended this visit. He later wrote of this in his journal, quote, "Why did a little kid have to shoot me today? His high-pitched voice still lingers in my head." End quote.
Good.
Being shot at by a child was still not a big enough hint that the Sentinelese did not want him there. He made a final visit on November 17th. As he left the fishing boat, he told the fishermen to leave without him. The fishermen saw the Sentinelese dragging John, and the next day they saw his body on the shore. John had written in his journal, quote, "I think it's worthwhile to declare Jesus to these people. Please do not be angry at them or at God if I get killed. Don't retrieve my body." End quote. Indian officials made repeated attempts to recover John's body, but on November 28th, those efforts were abandoned. The risk of a deadly clash was too great. Police arrested 7 fishermen, or 5 fishermen, 1 friend of John's, and 1 local guide, depending on the source, for helping John get close to the island. John's death is being treated as a murder, but there has been no suggestion that the Sentinelese could be charged.
And they shouldn't be.
They shouldn't be.
It is illegal to go there.
Yeah. So it is possible that John has infected the Sentinelese with pathogens that they have no immunity to. This could wipe out their entire population.
Just from the sniffles.
Yeah. Something that maybe he didn't even know he had. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because we're so immune to it.
Yeah.
But for them, it could be devastating.
Yeah, exactly. And we've seen that even in North America. What used to be called the Queen Charlotte Islands, which is now Haida Gwaii, almost the entire population of First Nations there were wiped out back in the day because of the Queen Charlotte arriving and giving most of them smallpox.
Yeah.
Because they had no immunity.
Yeah. Shameful.
Yeah.
John's mother and John's friend John Middleton Ramsey still believe that there's a chance that he is still alive, as a body has not been produced and they find the eyewitnesses unreliable. But this isn't really that surprising, though, because I think that any mother would feel the same way. It's just not something that you want to accept as a reality until there's extremely solid evidence.
Yeah.
So I totally understand that. So there are two sides to every story, and I'm sure that it is very clear which side I am on. Why I do genuinely feel for John's parents, as no parent should ever lose a child. This was his fault. He had many opportunities to take a damn hint, and he didn't. What the North Sentinelese people did was self-defense.
Yeah.
Pure and simple.
I mean, he's got the horrible colonialism, like, gotta spread my religion.
Yeah.
Gotta advance. Like, fuck you, leave them alone.
Yeah.
They're way better off by themselves.
But, like, so what are they missing that our society has? Like, quiet
Drugs.
hatred of ourselves.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. They're healthy. They're thriving. There's no indication that they need help.
They don't hate their jobs.
Yeah. Just leave them alone.
Yeah. Let them live their lives.
Yep. So yeah, that's my story. I mean, whatever. Disagree with me if you want, but whatever. If you want to decide that you're wrong, that's fine with me.
If an island is barred from contact because the people don't want to have contact with you, and that's the law, just fuck off.
Yeah.
You got no reason to go there.
Yeah.
I mean, spreading your religion. I mean, just give me a break.
Yeah. Their reactions weren't ambiguous.
Yeah.
Like, a kid literally shot an arrow at you.
Yeah.
That's pretty fucking clear.
And if you want to believe your God's there, maybe he saved you once by getting the Bible first.
Exactly.
Like,
that was your sign from God.
yeah.
You shouldn't go.
Get
I'll
a clue.
protect you once. But if you continue, it's because you're a moron.
Yeah. So the title of my story is Robbing Banks Does Not Pay. So to pair this, I have the Cannery Brewing Heist Maple Stout. They're out of Penticton. The beer is 5.5% alcohol, 40 IBU. This one's based off of a different heist than a bank robbery, but the Canadian maple syrup is sought after around the globe. The highly coveted commodity came into the spotlight when $18 million worth was stolen in the Great Maple Syrup Heist. The addition of liquid gold gives the stout a truly Canadian twist. So instead of stealing maple syrup, this is a bank robbery, but
Still good.
it's got a fun label on it too.
Yeah.
Little stupid robber trying to steal the maple.
Yeah. Definitely read about that. Truly Canadian crime.
Maybe we should do it one day. I mean the story, not the crime.
Yeah. Or both. Why not?
Well, maybe, yeah.
Let's make it interesting. Why not?
And we can report on it.
Play.
This one's not quite as dark. Like, it's still really dark brown, but when you hold it up to light, you can see a little bit of like a chestnut brown color. Mm-hmm. But it's still got a nice fluffy, like chocolatey brown head.
It's so sweet smelling. Like, I might get a cavity from the scent.
Yeah. Lots and lots of maple. It smells like caramel and candy and toffees. I think there's a hint of chocolate in there. Almost reminds me of Werther's candies.
It's definitely maple syrup.
Yeah, there's tons of maple syrup
Wow.
in there. Caramel and toffee and some like brown sugar or something.
That'd be a good breakfast beer, actually. With waffles, bacon.
And it's only 5.5% alcohol, so it's not as bad as drinking an Imperial Stout for breakfast.
Yeah. Well, not for... I'm not saying drink this beer instead of eating breakfast.
No, drink it with your breakfast. Come
Yeah.
on now. We're not heathens.
With a nice waffle bacon brunch.
Yeah, it's really nice. This is a really good beer. Haven't had it in a while.
I've never had it. It's tasty. It's like a bit smoky on the taste, which makes sense for maple syrup. Yeah, it tastes very Canadian.
It sure does.
I was recently watching Forensic Files. Big shock, I know. But the case that they were doing was in Saskatchewan, and the parents of the victim were legitimately saying A at the end of every sentence. And I was like, this is why everyone thinks we talk like that.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey.
It doesn't belong at the end of every sentence. It's just a confirmation of agreement.
Agreed.
Like, know what I mean? Eh?
Yeah. I do,
Yeah.
Hoser.
Yeah. Okay. Next level.
Yep.
Anywho.
We're drinking. I mean, Bob and Doug McKenzie should come into this sometime.
I don't have a toque on, though, eh?
That's true. On November 7th, 2017, bank robber extraordinaire met his match. Eric Rivers, a 24-year-old, was a bank robber in Lawrenceville, a suburb of Atlanta, Georgia, part of the Gwinnett County that worked alone. In the week leading up to November 8th, Eric successfully robbed a few banks, but did not score the big one. The police had photos and videos of him from his previous bank robberies, but they did not know his name and were still actively searching for him. He was well known to the police, though. He had a system of stalking out banks that I am sure he thought was genius. Eric would walk into banks with some sort of disguise and hang around for 30 to 40 minutes looking at the security measures of the bank.
What?
Yeah.
How's that not completely conspicuous?
Exactly. If everything met his ideal standards, he would strike. On the fateful Tuesday, he started at BB&T Bank, where he wore a hat over a hoodie as well as a surgical mask. Inconspicuous? I don't know.
I feel like you walk into a bank like that and they should be immediately like, leave. You should leave.
Yeah. He proceeded to scope out the bank. After about 40 minutes in the bank, the regional investigations manager, it just happened to be in the branch at the time, got a bad feeling about the man with the ball cap and a hoodie.
It took 40 minutes. Okay.
With that, the investigations manager headed over to talk with Eric. After the conversation, Eric left the bank with no issues. From there, he headed to Fifth Third Bank. I mean, if they thought it was odd behavior there and they ended up approaching him, why not go next door, right?
Yeah.
Proceeded to case out this bank because he was a genius. Still not finding the right situation, he left the bank. He headed over to Fidelity Bank on Old Norcross Road next. He cased this bank for a time, but for whatever reason, he did not rob this one either. I guess he was just looking for a bank run by idiots or something.
Mm-hmm. Should open his own bank.
and then rob
that
it.
Bank.
Yeah, totally. That sounds like a great idea.
Yep.
Next, he headed over to the Chase Bank location on Collins Hill Road, also in the same vicinity. All in the same neighborhood.
Why are there so many banks together? It's weird.
Chasing the American dream? I don't know. This time he hung out in the lobby for 30 minutes, looking busy on his cell phone. After about 30 minutes, everything seemed right, so he headed up to the teller and handed her a note that he had a gun and demanded money. She read the note and without incident produced the money. He took the unknown amount of cash and left the bank. At the Chase Bank he finally robbed that day, he ended up having a reduced disguise as he no longer wore the surgical mask. Now, during a robbery spree like this, you would think you would be laser focused on the job. You would not stop for anything. But in the midst of casing and robbing the banks that day, he was approached by a CBS 46 reporter, Ashley Thompson.
Oh my God.
They were recording a totally non-related news story. I do not know if she surprised him, like the police think, or if he just wanted to talk to the attractive reporter, but he stopped to do a piece regardless. Here's the audio from the report.
Oh, man, no.
As a reporter, I speak with all types of people from all over, but I never thought an alleged bank robber would let me interview him in between his hits. Lawrenceville police say this is the man accused of robbing several Gwinnett County banks in recent weeks. They've been looking for him, and they say they caught him, and it was with my help.
I think you surprised him.
I was working on a story about a busy Lawrenceville intersection, and I wanted to find out what people nearby had to say about it. I approached this man at a shopping center near Lawrenceville Swanee Road and Duluth Highway.
While interviewing one of the managers at the BB&T Bank on Lawrenceville Swanee Road, they informed us that the suspect was seen leaving the Fifth Third Bank and walking towards a CBS 46 news truck.
He told me his name was Eric Rivers and agreed to be interviewed about traffic. Before cameras were rolling, he told me he wanted to take off his do-rag and his hat. The same hat seen here.
You know, Gwinnett doesn't really have its own public transportation, so Martyr coming out here would definitely help out a lot.
Lawrenceville police called me and asked me who I interviewed. They used that info to track him down. Lawrenceville police tell me he robbed the Chase Bank on Collins Hill Road before this interview, and police say he was in several other nearby banks scoping them out. Right after our interview, police say he went into a nearby Fidelity Bank.
He kind of has a skit he plays. And he does go into them. He spends an extended amount of time in the banks.
Police say he hands bank tellers a piece of paper with demands, claiming to be armed. But police say the gig is up. We caught Rivers being escorted into the Lawrenceville Police Department in handcuffs. Police believe he acted alone.
We have no other evidence to say there was anybody with him, so I would say he's by himself.
In total, police say this guy hit up 5 banks. They say he was successful at robbing 2. And just why he gave me an interview, well, that's still up in the air. In Gwinnett County, Ashley Thompson, CBS 46 News.
So he did an interview with her, and not only did he remove his bank disguise, but he gave her his real name?
Yes.
I'll tell you why he was working alone. Because anyone that was working with him would have been like, you're a fucking moron. Don't talk to the camera. Mm-hmm. Don't do it. Don't give them your real name. Don't give them any name. Don't talk to them at all.
Yeah.
You're an idiot.
Unfortunately for our stupid criminal, this interview was what spelled his end.
Shocking.
Yeah. He was caught soon after a bank employee saw him being approached by the news reporters. The bank called the local police and tipped them off, leading them to the CBS 46 office to get Eric's name. The story would be funny on its own, but it gets better. The Lawrenceville police decided to drop some advice for aspiring criminals on their Facebook page. So here it is. This is the post. PSA from the Lawrenceville Police Department. It's not often that we in law enforcement give criminals advice on committing criminal acts, but we felt compelled to do so after the recent events. Please pay attention. If you're going to be a bank robber, actually, let's stop right here. Our first piece of advice would be for you not to be a bank robber. You see, in today's society, it is actually very, very difficult to be a successful bank robber. It is with almost certainty that you will be caught. It may take us a little while to find you, but we will find you and you will go to prison. Please take our advice and stay away from the bank robbery business. If you decide not to accept our advice and go out and rob a bank anyways, we actually have some additional advice for you. This advice is extremely important, so again, please pay attention. When after having robbed several banks and you are at another bank casing the place for additional robbery and you are approached by a news crew in the parking lot covering a completely different story, by the way, here we go. Pay close attention. Do not stop and agree to do an interview with said news crew. The news anchor might be pretty, but fight the urge and keep walking. You see, when you accept an interview and provide them with your real name, it actually makes our job too easy. We will find you anyway, but we do like a little more difficult investigation on occasion. This has been the public service announcement from your hometown to police department. Thank you. You gotta love a police department with a sense of humor.
Yeah, I really do, actually.
I have to say that this Facebook post both makes the police department seem likable, but it also highlights just how stupid our boy Eric is. What do you think?
Yeah. No, he's clearly a moron. I didn't need their PSA to know that, but it's still good. I like it when police departments do stuff like that. Or not just police departments, any, like, sort of official group, when they don't take themselves too seriously.
Yeah, and they'll make fun of a real stupid criminal.
Yeah.
So there's my first delve into stupid criminals.
Yeah. What an imbecile.
Yeah.
So my next story is, what the hell is this junk in my trunk? The toxic Tush case. She's not a doctor, but why let that stop you from performing body enhancement surgery?
Yeah, really, why not?
Okay. O'Neill Ron Morris, a.k.a. Toxic Tush Doctor or Duchess to her patients, 36, a Florida woman who botched cosmetic butt injections using silicone, mineral oil, tire sealant, rubber cement, and super glue, pleads guilty to manslaughter and was sentenced to 10 years in prison and 5 years probation for a patient's death. I'm going to show Mike a quick picture of what we're talking about here.
I just can't get over why you need tush injections, but okay. Wow, that's quite the tush.
Mm-hmm. That's in her prison gear.
Wow.
So we'll have these pictures that I just showed Mike available on the website. And I definitely recommend you having a look because it's pretty fucking shocking.
Yeah, I mean, there is that song, I like big butts and I don't... What is it again?
I like big butts and I cannot lie.
That's it.
And I may or may not know all the lyrics to that song.
That isn't attractive.
No. It's too far.
Yeah.
It's gone too far.
It's obviously not natural.
Oh, you're understating it.
Yeah.
Hugely.
Yeah.
So, O'Neill already served a year in prison for practicing healthcare without a license in 2013.
Healthcare.
Yeah. O'Neill is transgendered, but was sentenced to serve her time at a men's prison. I don't agree with this at all. While I think that she actually deserves a longer sentence, it should be in a women's prison as she identifies as a woman and lives her life as a woman. It's wrong to put someone who lives as a woman in a men's prison. It's extremely dangerous. And I really looked into, I really tried to find out why they sentenced her to a men's prison, and there was nothing available on
I can
that.
tell you why right now. Florida.
Yeah.
It's not the most progressive state.
I
had a great time in Florida, but it's not very progressive.
I mean, I obviously, I completely, I'm not I'm not on her side at all, and I really do think she deserved a much longer prison sentence for what she did, but she shouldn't be in a men's prison.
Yep, agreed.
So just a quick preemptive warning: if I use the male pronoun, and it's only because it's part of a direct quote, but otherwise, she is what I will be using because that's how she lives her life, and that's what's proper. Okay, so Shatarka Newby paid O'Neill $2,000 for as many as 10 injections between 2007 and 2010 to her hips and buttocks. Family members that witnessed these procedures said O'Neill would wear scrubs and a stethoscope while performing the procedures. They had been family friends for years and believed that O'Neill was medically licensed to perform these procedures. In November 2011, Shatarka was serving time in a Florida prison for using a stolen identity to pay for bigger breast implants and liposuction. While there, she found discoloration and hardening at the injection sites. She wrote to the state's health department warning them about O'Neill. She claimed her surgeon was the same faux cosmetic doctor that police had arrested and accused of performing the same procedure on other women's bodies. She died of respiratory failure from a massive systemic silicone migration in 2012. Charges were brought against O'Neill that summer.
Jeez.
Yeah, so she'd been injected with, amongst other things, silicone. The procedures weren't performed properly, so the silicone migrated, and yeah, basically she suffocated to death.
Jesus.
While in jail, and they couldn't really do anything about it. A witness to the procedure claimed to have seen Morris superglue cotton balls to Shatarka's injection sites to prevent bleeding. Prosecutors said they were unable to confirm exactly what had been injected into O'Neill's patients. O'Neill denied any intentional wrongdoing. Shatarka's family and friends appeared in court and pressed for life imprisonment. Sherry Pitts, Shatarka's mother, said, quote, "My daughter died the most inhumane death. 18 months she suffered without knowing the full of what he put into her body. The doctors couldn't do anything until they knew what portion they put in her body," end quote. I think that's meant to say potion, not portion, but you get the idea. O'Neill read a prepared statement at her sentencing, quote, "I have never ever, or would dare ever, to inject or have injected any human with any type of unknown substance," end quote. She was very convinced that she was perfectly innocent of any wrongdoing and that she was being punished by the media lies. Quote, "This whole experience has taught me a lot about how people will try to destroy my life. I just want to put it behind me," end quote.
Behind her.
I know, right?
I'm sorry, but it's not an unknown substance. I could put Drano in your bottom. I know what it is.
Yeah. She does not see the procedure as dangerous and has, obviously, performed it on her own hips and butt. It's a little shocking. Like I said, we'll have pictures available on the website. Definitely need to have a look.
Yeah, you do. It'll be hard to miss. Beep, beep.
Yeah. The procedure has left her hips and butt abnormally large and misshapen. If she was acting as her own advertisement, I don't know how she made any sales at all. I'm not body shaming her. Go to the website and check out the pictures. She could have been a beautiful woman. It seems fairly like that she has some sort of body dysmorphic disorder.
Yeah.
And that's where a person is obsessed with the perceived physical flaws or imperfections that don't actually exist.
Yeah. Or they only cause themselves.
Yeah. Her defense attorney, William Lanphier, argued that O'Neill's patients knew she wasn't a licensed medical professional. Quote, all parties shared the responsibilities and the blame for their own actions and the role they played. There was an assumption of risk obligation from the victims, end quote. Keisha Jones said O'Neill's breast injections caused her immense anguish. Quote, the ingredients ate through my flesh. I have multiple cysts in both breasts, end quote. Yeah, that is fucking horrible.
Oh.
One of O'Neill's clients, Raji Narain Singh, appeared on an episode of Botched last year. She had heard of O'Neill through the transgender community and had her face, breasts, and buttocks done, not knowing exactly what O'Neill was using. She has since had corrective surgery and released a music video for her song, Shake My Cement Tits.
Does she live in Las Vegas? Because I think I saw a lot of cement tits in Las Vegas when I was there.
It's a house song. I couldn't find the actual video, but I did find a clip of the song, and if I'm being honest, I didn't look very hard for the actual music video because the song was mediocre at best. Another woman who received injections to her face was at one time dubbed Cement Face and had to have additional surgery by a licensed doctor in 2014 to fix it. She said she was too embarrassed to leave her home. So she couldn't leave her home, but was dubbed Cement Face? So, like, who the fuck was calling her Cement Face?
I don't
like,
know.
A really fucking shitty partner or one rude-ass parrot?
I mean, she could be a really good action star then as Cement Face. Like, that sounds like really badass.
Like a supervillain.
Yeah, totally.
Maybe. So what's absurd about this story is that it's not a one-off. It's not even the only currently active case. There's a very similar case going on in Texas right now where two women have been charged with murdering Waikisha Reed. Denise Ross, a.k.a. Wee Wee. Fucking horrible nickname. Your nickname is urine, okay?
Yeah.
Or, like, tiny boy penis.
Yes. Why is it not at least a little boy or something called Wee Wee?
It's
like
so weird.
Weird.
And Jimmy Joe Clark, which isn't really better because everyone knows that people that go by three names are serial killers. Everyone knows that.
Oh, come on. Maynard James Keenan isn't a serial killer.
Okay. Anyway, Jimmy Joe Clark was also known as Alicia. Whatever. They were charged after allegedly injecting Waikisha's butt with industrial-grade silicone, causing her death. The procedure came to be known as the wee-wee booty procedure.
That
sounds like something else.
Yeah.
It sounds like something else.
Sounds like something you'd get at a different kind of club.
Yeah. Doesn't... And not very satisfying either.
No. Well, it depends. It's each their own.
No, the wee-wee. Anyway. But seriously, it's sad the lengths that people will go to for supposed beauty. Like, just be you. It's so attractive. If you're just like, this is how I am, and if you don't like it, I don't care. It's so hot. It's so good. Just love you.
And if you really need to, go to a real doctor
Yeah.
at least. Pay real money. Get it done. There's definitely people that need to go for procedures.
Yes.
You know, gender reassignments and stuff.
Yes.
But go to a real doctor.
Yeah.
Don't go to someone who claims to be a real doctor. If it's not done in a hospital or a proper doctor's office,
if you're in
don't
someone's
do it.
living room or if you're in a hotel room, that's bad.
Get your hair cut.
Yeah.
Not-
I wouldn't even get my hair cut there.
That's as far as you go. Like,
Yeah.
Ugh.
Anyway, I don't know. It's sad. I mean,
Yeah.
I get that a lot of people, especially like in the transgender community, if they're not, and in this, I mean, it's different in the States where it's not covered, and it's only certain provinces here in Canada that cover that surgery, which I think is wrong.
Yeah.
Because really, if you're not covering it, you're promoting mental unhealth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's not a cosmetic surgery when it comes to gender reassignment.
It's not.
No.
It's not an option.
No,
You know?
not at all.
So, yeah, I don't want to make it seem like we're callous towards that, but it's just not worth the risk.
No,
You know?
not at all.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But definitely, you should see these pictures.
Yeah, check out that ass.
It's something else. Yeah. That's my story. That's my
Perfect.
second stupid story.
Eek. All right, for the last of our dumb criminals, we come home. The title of this story is Drug Smuggling Never Pays. This is the Toques of Hazzard Double White IPA from Parallel 49. It's 9.2% alcohol, and it says, just a good old beer made with grains, yeast, and hops. Beats all you ever drank, being a double IPA since the day I was born. An Imperial IPA made with wheat to keep the beer light-bodied and hazy white. Big hop flavor and aromas of tropical fruit and gooseberries from the Citra and Haudotau Blanc hops. So this beer, I've kind of paired it with the story because while the Dukes of Hazzard ran moonshine, these people were trying to run drugs. Kind of a bit of a tie-in, you know. Moonshine is illegal, running drugs is illegal. So on December 15th, 2011, Jasmine Clare of Metro Vancouver changed her life, and I do not mean for the better. She was recently introduced to a friend of a friend, Gurjeet Singh Sandhu, and he had a scheme to make her some money. She met with Gurjeet and one of his associates on the day in question in Surrey at a Canadian Tire near the Peace Arch border crossing with Washington State at 2:50 p.m. All she needed to do was transport a package across the border, and she would be paid $4,000. I mean, this sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? What she would be transporting, though, was 10.75 kilograms or 23.7 pounds of cocaine, and a total of 9 bricks in a large box.
Wow.
Yeah. Sandhu gave her $600 cash and told Jasmine to book a room at an inn that is just across the border in Washington State. Now, whoever thought it was a good idea to stay at a place called the Smuggler's Inn while trying to smuggle drugs, I will never know. But she did just that and booked a room. She crossed into Washington and headed to a Jack in the Box nearby where she was to pick up the drugs. Yeah, 2 bad life decisions there.
Oh, okay. So she was picking up the drugs in the States and
Yeah.
bringing them back. I thought you meant she was taking them
Nope,
to
other way
the
around.
States. Okay.
After picking up the cocaine, she called the Smuggler's Inn and asked for a ride back to the inn. She asked for a pickup near a Pizza Hut, but unfortunately for her, Homeland Security had received tips about drug smuggling near the Pizza Hut that December, and as such, had been scoping it out. So when the owner of the Smuggler's Inn picked her up in their GMC Yukon with the vanity plate, Smuggler, yes, that's right, Smuggler spelled S-M-U-G-L-E-R.
Oh my God. This is like a cartoon.
Yeah, but real. Need like some of the Roadrunner in here or something.
Yeah.
Beep, beep. Exactly. Now, the owner was not involved with the plot, but they got caught up in it, the shit show anyways. Agents watched as the vehicle arrived at the Smuggler's Inn at 8 p.m. Homeland Security agents swarmed the car and found out the package was Jasmine's, and the other 2 in the car were not involved. Special Agent Joshua Barnett was quoted as saying, "She appeared nervous and agitated when I asked her about her identity." And I say, no shit, as she had 11 pounds of coke on her.
Oh my God.
Once in custody, she agreed to cooperate with the agents. She began to receive multiple text messages and phone calls from a guy she only knew as Jason. She told the cops that she had met 2 men named Jason and Gordy only 2 weeks ago. Gordy would turn out to be Gurjeet Singh Sandhu. She went on to tell the police that she had agreed to transport the package north across the border for $4,000, as stated before. At 11:40 p.m., she received a call from Gurjeet stating that someone would be coming to her room to pick up the cocaine. He told her that she should run across the border with that person. Around 11:45 p.m., police saw a Volkswagen Jetta approach near the Smuggler's Inn on the Canadian side of the border at Zero Avenue. It slowed as it came near the inn and stopped. Now, to say the Smuggler's Inn was close to the Canadian border is an understatement, as it was only 30 feet south of Canada.
Wow.
Two men sprang out of the car and ran across the border towards the inn. Police sprang into action and ordered the two men to stop. They turned tail and sprinted back towards the Canadian border, but were caught. Whoops.
I feel like I could think of a million ways to make this go more smoothly.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely not going to say them because I don't want to give anyone any ideas.
And because we're not on the episode.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to be part of someone else's podcast as the stupid criminal.
Definitely. The men were later identified as Gurjeet Singh Sandhu and Narinder Kaler. Narinder told agents that he was paid $2,000 from the driver of the Jetta, only known as G, to do the run across the border. He said that he only did it as he had a debt of $325,000 he had to pay off for losing 115 pounds of marijuana a year and a half before.
How do you lose that much of anything? How do you lose 115 pounds of anything?
I think it was in a similar case like this.
How was he not arrested then?
Probably made that run across the border. I don't know. So, yeah, he is a pro smuggler himself.
Yeah, and obviously top shelf, too.
Yeah. American authorities worked with Canadian police to try and track down the driver of the Jetta, as he was thought to be a well-known gangster in Vancouver. These three pleaded not guilty in a Seattle courtroom, but it seems pretty cut and dry to me, as they were caught with powder under the noses, you could say.
Oh my god, I thought you were being literal. For a split second, I thought you were being literal. Oh, man.
I guess that joke didn't work.
It still worked.
They were to go to trial on March 5th, 2012. Jasmine Clare ended up striking a plea bargain with the U.S. attorney, but unfortunately the details of that are sealed. She was to be sentenced on May 29th. Gurjeet Singh Sandhu and Nadir Kale were to be sentenced on August 20th and 27th, respectively, and the sentence could range from 10 years to life, although many Canadians seem to get off with less than the minimum after they plead guilty. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm wondering why her records were sealed, too, if she's not underage or anything. I guess
probably
if
because
she's...
of the plea bargain.
Yeah, that's a good deal for her then.
It could also be to protect her because she went against the two others and maybe the guy in the car.
Oh, yeah.
So all I can ask is, how bloody stupid can you be to try and smuggle drugs across the border? Uh-huh. Life is not worth the risk for a couple bucks. But I love the irony of drug smugglers staying at an inn called the Smuggler's Inn and Jasmine being picked up in a vehicle with plates that said smuggler. I wish I could find their sentences, but I could not. If you can find them, can you please send us a message? I'd love to know what happened to them.
Mm-hmm.
So
you're sentenced to thought of being as an imbecile your entire life. That's a fair sentence.
Basically, yeah. And I just realized we didn't talk about this beer. We talked about what it was, and we talked about the press release for it. So let's actually talk about the beer before we sign off for this one. Mm-hmm. It's got like a nice orangey color. What would you say?
Golden amber.
Golden amber, orange color. A white head on it. A little bit of lacing on the glass.
Fruity.
A bit fruity, yeah. There's a bit of floral hops in there. Maybe a hint of the wheat that's in it. On the flavor, there's tons of fruit, kind of citrusy. Some like lemon, maybe. It's a bit grainy with a little bit of wheat in there, and hops bitterness is pretty low. It's not a New England IPA. It's it's fairly clear. It's not fully clear, but it's fairly clear.
Yeah.
It is still more juicy than it is bitter. I like it. Doesn't look like you're a big fan of it, but not every beer is everyone's jam.
Yeah. I think I typically like darker beers or fruits or sours. I feel like if they're this golden color,
not as big a fan.
I probably won't like it.
Cheers anyways.
Yeah.
All right, so if you enjoyed this episode, please tune in to our older episodes and any new episode on your favorite podcast app. You can look for us at Brew Crime on Twitter. You can email us at brewcrime@pacificbeerchat.com.
Or Brew Crime on Facebook.
Yeah, look for Facebook groups. You can go to facebook.com/groups/brewcrime.
Or on Spotify, which is very exciting for me because that's what I use to listen to all my true crime podcasts.
Yeah, and we're going to be on iHeartRadio any day now. Mm-hmm. So if that's your poison of choice, look for us there. Mm-hmm. Thanks for tuning in. Brew Crime's intro was created by Mike using Creative Commons Attribution licensed audio from purple-planet.com, soundbible.com, and freesoundeffects.com. Logo designed by Ben Greenberg. All cases and stories are written by Beck and Mike, and sources are put into the show notes for each episode. We always want to give credit to the people that researched the cases we talk about. Check out our store at brewcrime.threadless.com, where you can purchase swag like t-shirts, phone cases, beach towels, all kinds of crazy stuff. We can be found on your favorite podcast app, Spreaker.com, or BrewCrime.com, as well as at BrewCrime on Twitter and Facebook.com/group/BrewCrime. Thanks for listening. This has been a production of Pacific Beer Chat. Brew Crime is part of the Hopped Up Network. Here is a sample of one of the podcasts you can check out by going to hoppedupnetwork.com.
Buffalo, the industrial powerhouse of the early 20th century. The grain elevators now stand silent on the shores of the Great Lakes, casting their shadow on the City of Light. A city known for blizzards, chicken wings, and Super Bowl losses, where even the natural magnificence of Niagara Falls can't help but magnify the rusted-out shell of a once great city. Not anymore. Buffalo is a city on the rise again. New industry, green spaces, waterfront development, and the revival of Buffalo's proud brewing past are building the new Buffalo. With over 25 local breweries open in the last decade, Buffalo has an amazing brewing community. Join me as I talk to local brewers about making great beer. Sometimes we talk about the 716, and sometimes we talk shop to help you brew better. Find us at wny.beer or on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at WNY Brews.
Now here is a promo from a fellow true crime or spooky podcast that we really enjoy. Hope you'll take a listen.
That's horrible.
That's true.
So strange.
Usually.
I can't imagine what that's like.
Do you want to?
That could never happen to me.
It might.
Lock him away. He's pure evil. Or insane.
Or human. My name's Kate. I have worked as a forensic psychologist, as well as in prisons and as a crisis clinician. My job was to figure out who gets locked up and who gets a key. To find the humanity in inhumane situations. So, are you sure you really want to know?
Yeah. Maybe.
Because by the end of the episodes, you just might end up thinking...
I felt better before I knew that.
You can find me at IWB Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, sometimes Instagram, or you can email me at iwbpodcast@gmail.com.